Well, now joining us is Newark Venture Partners entrepreneur in residence, Anthony Frasier. Anthony, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Okay, so we always love props. We'll get to the props soon because this is a book of yours that came out earlier this year. But first, I want to talk about the kinds of companies that your company and that your firm invests in and looks to invest in.
Well, yeah, well, it's not necessarily my firm. It was actually started by Don Katz, who's the CEO of Audible.com. And it's really just about bringing, back Newark and bringing tech startups to Newark. Newark is very close to New York City, over 60,000 college students. It's a transit hub. There's so many plus sides of a tech startup actually existing in Newark. So what Don Katz wanted to do was basically create more Audibles.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so are there certain sectors, certain founders, certain leaders, certain people, with different backgrounds that the firm Newark looks to invest in?
It's any background. The most part, we favor, firms that can basically provide to the city. So if you can do business with the city, I think that's something that will make you stand out as a company. Mm-hmm. But mostly any company, any industry, any vertical, long as it makes sense, mm-hmm. We'll definitely invest in it. But I think what we're looking for is exceptional people, mm-hmm. more than anything, entrepreneurs who are looking to make a change. And so I think that's the most important thing.
Okay, so you did a TED Talk, and the TED Talk was called What Startup Communities Can Learn from Black Wall Street. So for our viewers, if they haven't seen it, just quickly summarize your point there.
So really, when I look back in history, I look at some of the things like great movements like Black Wall Street, which happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it was just a group of young, ambitious, Black African-American entrepreneurs who came to a certain area and decided, well, we're going to create for our own. We're sick of segregation. We're going to provide for our own. And I think right now we are in the digital era where I feel like young African-American entrepreneurs can take on that same attitude and kind of recreate what Black Wall Street did in Tulsa, but you can do it in the digital age now.
Mm-hmm. What do you think are the challenges that have existed so far and might persist in terms of making the tech community more diverse?
I think access to capital is definitely, and that's something that, I think Newark Venture Partners, aims to, be a big impact in. But I think access to capital is one of the largest things that affect a lot of people of color and even minorities such as women in venture capital. And so another thing is getting into tech in general, being hired at these companies. There's a bottleneck there too because there's some initial bias and a lot of people of color aren't being hired in the tech industry. So.
I've also heard accounts on the tech beat of when people do kind of join some of these tech companies, they sometimes feel isolated or they don't really get the support to maybe reach that leadership where they might start a company. So what could we be doing better there, do you think?
I think just, I hear this a lot. Like they talk about culture fit, and to me, I think there shouldn't be a culture fit in general. I think there should be a culture mix. There should be someone who comes from a different background, different everything that you should want to connect with and want to learn from, learn about their background. They shouldn't have to, if they look like what you already come from, that's all you're going to hire. And so that's the problem now. We're just hiring people who look like us. And so we need to reach out to those communities who don't look quite like you and then bring them into the fold and then learn. And I think having more inclusive, experiences like that can make tech industry better for everyone.
Okay, so I want to talk to you about the book too, right here. This was out earlier this year. It says, Don't Dumb Down Your Greatness. What's inside the book?
So it's basically, I would say it's an entrepreneurship book with no business tips.
Okay.
So there's no business tips in there. It's all about personal development. You just had Grant Cardone on. This is like one of the guys I used to watch constantly to try to get pumped up and motivated.
Really?
And so like it's influenced by guys like him, Gary Vaynerchuk. And James Altucher, but I feel like there's no one in the African-American community to speak to young Black entrepreneurs the way that these entrepreneurs are speaking to their people who look up to them. And so I wanted to make something specifically for young entrepreneurs of color so that they could feel like, how to overcome failure, how to overcome self-doubt, how to set goals the right way. These are things that I discuss in this book.
Sure, and it starts with the preface, your story part 1 ends with your story part 2. So what is your story?
I mean, well, I'm not, technically, I started out like 5 years ago, I was working at Kmart. So like I was literally taking boxes off the back of a truck. Wow. And so like the fact that I'm even sitting here right now, it's like, wait, how did you get here? And literally everything that I've learned on how to get to where I am now is in that book, and I think my story is all about perseverance and leverage, finding out how to make one opportunity get you to the next one. That's it.
Okay.
So I saw a couple of sections about not doubting haters, kind of getting inspiration.
Yeah.
How much is motivation to just see what's possible, do you think, a limiting factor, or how can you sort of break through that?
I think so, especially when we talk about, diversity, I think the idea of someone successful is all you need, So like if I look at someone like a Tristan Walker, who's really successful with Bevel, all I need to do is see that, and then I feel like, you know what, I can be just like him. I can make it to that level. I think that's the biggest thing. And so for me, I think motivation is a huge part. Motivation is like breakfast. You got to eat it every morning. Like you don't go to bed without washing up, right? So like motivation goes away. So you got to keep looking at people like that, studying individuals like that, looking at material, reading material that's like that in the book to keep yourself refreshed. And I think that's the most important part about, staying motivated.
Anthony Frasier, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Good. Okay, so coming up on Cheddar Life today at 12:30 Eastern Time, here's what we have. Let's take a look. WeTV's Money, Power, Respect, Style Me Pretty talks wedding dresses, probably for a busy time of year, and an app to make your own music videos. I hope we get a test case there. All right, that's it for today. I'll see you during Cheddar Life for a hit here from the Stock Exchange, and we'll see you back tomorrow. Alex, thanks for joining us.
I'll be back soon, I hope.